So I know we're a bit over, but we'll get everyone who's presented this morning just to come up for a few questions, because there's some being put on through the panel. I've been taking my notes as well. Might be high tech. I've got my little whiteboard though, mini version. And as we've pre-recorded it all, only one little thing. So Ros, when Steve's presenting, he's on Wednesday this week rather than Thursday, if people are listening in. But that's how many times we've had to do the replanning over this last little while. So there are a couple of questions in the Q&A for you, Ros, if I start with those.
Sure.
First one's the work you're all doing is fantastic, but have you got any concerns around continued funding for these initiatives?
For sure, you know, the current system, I'm sure every organisation, whether public or private sector, is having to review and consider their finances in light of the current system. However, I would just counter that with the fact that we launched the national strategy in June, in the middle of the pandemic, with the full support of the government and our minister. So, you know, there are no promises at these moment in times in relation to finance, but I think the Commission is on a really strong footing. Its pilots projects and the work it's doing is already showing value. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I think I agree with that as well. Just the energy and the effort that the commercial sector are putting in as well into all these projects. It's, as you mentioned, one that we're involved in. We've just got another question in, and it's just, there's like a kind of new lease of energy being put into all those. They are really quite exciting. So the next one was around with NUAR that we mentioned. So ensuring that data is visible in the platform, is it accurate? And will utilities be able to bring that data back into their own systems? It might be a bit of an unfair techie question on the NUAR project, but if there's anything you can add to that.
Yeah, no, very happy to talk about NUAR. The pilots that as you mentioned, One Spatial supported, but the platforms that we built through them were pilot platforms. So it's not necessarily the same systems that we will use for national rollout. So at this stage, we haven't started building the national platform, so I can't exactly say what capabilities it would have. I would say that as with our pilots, you know, we do have to, of course, take into consideration security concerns with the utility information that would be on any platform, and also commercial sensitivities. So there will, in the pilot, we did have a capability where users on the ground could flag and report any discrepancies, and I'm sure some form of function like that would be highly valuable, but whether, as this question asks, the data will be able to be connected and shared directly with other systems and platforms, I just can't say at this moment, because it's not being kind of built or even kind of designed to that level of detail.
No, that makes sense. And that's how we're all, I think, trying to build the prototypes and the pilots quickly, get the feedback that we can, and then kind of remembering and reflecting on that to say, well, then when we go into production, for a lot of the capability we build, we're generally going to start again to make sure we build the right things and learn on all the feedback that we've got. Okay, cool. There's another one that's probably for you, Seb, on the use of One Data Gateway that you showed. Can I use it to validate any data hitting my database? And is that any external or internal constraints, and anything about APIs?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about any data, but there's a whole wide range of data that can be processed through there. Typically, we focus on structured data, so spatial and non-spatial data in some structured format. But that could be, it's not just the data that's uploaded, it's the reference data that's pulled in. That could be in a database, but it could be coming through an API, through a remote feature service, for example. And as well as that, we can also augment it, as long as with our rules engine, and we augment it with tools like FME to access formats that are sort of rarer or you know, less used. So I guess that's a long way of just saying yes.
We'll take it as yes then. Like it.
Yeah. Just one thing I really wanted to add on the One Data Gateway that I'm not really sure has come across yet is just how, you know, a number of the use cases that our our customers are using it for is much more the data validation in the supply chain. So not having to do that all centrally at your HQ with lots of resources, but putting it out to the supply chain, and that is a really cost-effective way that our customers are using the One Data Gateway, which is really exciting.
No, good point, Claire. Good point. And to add on to that, I mean, something that you mentioned at the start, Claire, was the trusted data points and innovation that you talked about a lot. How do you think that's gone with innovating and having to collaborate with all our customers as well? Because it is slightly different at the moment. Do you feel it's worked from the sort of the board level?
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, it's cloud technologies that have enabled us to do the innovations through COVID. I mean, 5 years ago, I'm not sure it would have been the same, but, the tools that we have, spinning up, systems onto Azure that we can collaborate with our clients on, have made it, really, much more easy to collaborate with our clients during this period. It's just some of the face-to-face aspects that we're obviously missing, but hopefully in a few weeks' time we could be getting back to that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think for a lot of the organisations, everyone surprised themselves about how quickly they could be set up for working from home. So we've been doing a lot of good work up till now. A question for you then, John. So one of the things that you talked about during your presentation was the sort of spatial knowledge infrastructures. Could you just say a little bit more, expanded on that? Because I think that'll lead into the afternoon presentations as well.
Okay, well, it probably demands a longer answer than you're going to get. This is probably more Seb's area, but I mean, from my point of view, it means that it's all about finding knowledge rather than data. So this means that we can support workflows where you have a sort of a system of systems. So you've got one machine talking to another. It's all about machines being able to talk to each other, not just human readable form. So as Seb just mentioned just now, it's all about APIs. So one thing we're looking at doing in our technology is to have more API-derived interfaces between the various different platforms that we've got. So then you have one platform talking to another one, which just increases the efficiency throughout. And so that's why I sort of see the data infrastructure as being eventually replaced by what I call the knowledge infrastructure.
So we've got a minute to go, and there will be other questions that we can feed back to the relevant people. There was one other from Chris about, will the sessions be recorded? Definitely yes, because they've already been recorded, which should make it a big bonus for us to get them out to people as fast as we can. And when we send them out on demand, there will be a little questionnaire that you can fill in. And if you want to put an address in to get back in touch with you, you might get something in the post to say thank you, even though we haven't got the kind of goodie bags hanging off the backs of the seats for everybody at the moment. So we'll take a little 5-minute comfort break. Ros especially, thank you very much for presenting there, and Claire and John and Seb as well. But yeah, grab yourself a coffee, have a little breather, and we'll see you back in about 5 minutes.
Thanks, Bob.